did you do like the esports side of it?
I did eventually, yeah.
Yeah.
So I did karting probably pretty much full time without doing anything else until 2018, and then I got asked to do Gran Turismo World Tour, where I met Jimmy Broadbent.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Who I didn't actually know at the time. He didn't know me, but we formed a really good relationship. But yeah, seeing the we got to travel around to like Tokyo, Las Vegas, Monaco, commentating on this world tour, and that was so good. You see the amount of effort the esports drivers put in, and because it's they don't have to rent a track or anything and have marshals everywhere, they can put all the money into the production. And so the production, doing that for the first time, it was my first experience of like, okay, there's a lot of people, there's about 80 people working on this production alone. And that was a really good experience. And I then got to do the 24-hour Le Mans virtual in 2020 and 2021. And again, it's all the money went into the production. So that was a really cool moment as well.
Did it feel like kind of a big step up though, from karting then in terms of production?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because karting is done on a budget, really. Everyone kind of chips into everything, whereas I'd never been sent a list of that many people working on a production before. So that was a good experience to help me for later down the line, and just so fun as well. They do a lot because they have a studio. They can do whatever they want with it. Really, they can have drivers walking out one by one in front of a big crowd, and just stuff like that. And being able to chip into that was really good as well. So yeah, it definitely helped me a lot, and was my first experience of having to do production meetings and things like that, which in karting it's just get set up and go.
Yeah.
So yeah, with esports is more of a show, if you like, because they have the ability to make it like that.
Because they're backed more by more companies that have more money that can kind of, Sky, who helped out during like the whole lockdown stuff, didn't they?
Yeah.
But as well, with esports, it's becoming much more of a bigger thing now in motorsport. We're seeing a lot of drivers getting opportunities. We know Max Verstappen has his own Team Redline. I think they've renamed it now. How much do you think that's changing, like the future of motorsport?
I'd say it's definitely is changing. Where it started was COVID. Drivers have their own sims anyway, but during lockdown they had nowhere else to race, so championships began to set up. I did one for TNT Sports, and we had everyone, Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, everyone competed in it, and it was like a 6-week championship, and they all did it. All the drivers that do F1 WEC, and they then fell in love with the idea of doing it, I think, and saw the potential of how many people like doing it, and how many people that don't have the budget to race on track, but off track it's really not that expensive at all. So I think that's where it changed completely. And since then there are so many esports championships, you can't really keep up with it. So, but it's given drivers an opportunity to get a name for themselves without having to spend a lot of money. So Chris Lullum is an example of that. I remember him in karting, and I believe they just their budget hit an end and he disappeared, but he became one of the best esports drivers in the world, and now Max Verstappen pays for him to go racing at Nürburgring, which is that's just one story, and there's more like that out there as well. Jan Mardenborough is another example of that with Gran Turismo. So I think it's definitely for the better for the sports, because it's given people opportunities to make a name for themselves from their bedroom.
I don't want to risk us going on a tangent, but how much would you say then that the kind of skills from esports translate to on the track? Because I've seen videos, a lot of esports drivers first getting the chance to go on a track, and they always seem to be pretty good at it.
Yeah, I think Chris Lullum is an example of that. Sebastian Jobs an example of that, and Jan Mardenborough was probably the first real example of that when he got to go and race Le Mans, having won this Gran Turismo shootout. So I'll tell you a quick story. But when we did the 24-hour Le Mans virtual, Fernando Alonso in his team, he actually asked the esports drivers to train him.
Yes, I think I heard
better
that story.
at esports. So the F1 drivers can't keep up with the esports drivers in esports, but they can then help them get ready to go and get ready on track. Is really not that much of a difference, to be honest. So as long as you're comfortable with the speed you're going at, the esports drivers will be really good. So
I think that's quite crazy to think, like, you know, Fernando Alonso having to ask someone less experienced and with how much experience he has, training, which is crazy.
Yeah, and I believe Max Verstappen's done the same, and Jenson Button and things like that. They all relied on the esports drivers to coach them, to get them better at esports. And the quickest drivers of that race week when we did that were the esports drivers. It was not the F1 drivers, which is crazy to think, really. But I've done a few esports events, and these guys are so talented. It's unbelievable. So, and you know, some of them do about 6 hours a day training, and now have teams where they, you know, go to the gym and things like that, and are on a contract to race for a team. So yeah, it's massive, and I think it's great for the sport.
Yeah, I think this is the amount of testing you can get at home, racing, and you can do 600 odd laps a day.
Yeah.
You know, with Formula 1 or Formula 2, you know, you only get the practice session and that's it, you're straight into it.
Yeah, exactly. When I did the Gran Turismo stuff, all the drivers there told me it was at least 4 hours a day they were doing, if not 6, which is pretty unbelievable. But it gives people the opportunity with, you know, zero budget, a chance to make a career for themselves in motorsports, but, you know, do it in esports rather than on the track.
How long do you think that will take until we actually see a Formula 1 driver who's come through that sort of esports routes get a seat?
I mean, Formula One's a difficult one. I think already we're seeing drivers race in GT World Challenge, you know, World Endurance Championship. I know is a goal for people like Jimmy Broadbent and Steve Alvarez. So yeah, I think the 24-hour Le Mans is probably the more likely option. And I don't think we're far away from seeing that at all, to be honest. So Jimmy and Steve, Super GT, they're great. The team they're putting together. I know that's a goal for them, and because they've got big names, I'm not trying to down their ability, but they'll be able to get the support to do it. So you know, and you know, both those guys are really talented. So I think it'll be more that F1. Who knows? Give it 10, 15 years, it might happen.
Because I also think looking at the games as well, the F1 game and the kind of F1 esports games aren't as realistic. But you look at games like, I don't know, iRacing, that is such a realistic GT racing game, and you can actually get a feel for how the car would feel in real life.
Yeah, well, we did have a driver do Formula 2. His name escapes me now. But he came from esports and jumped straight into Formula Renault. And then Formula 2 was a Turkish driver.
I can't think of his name. He's a Turkish driver.
But he did Formula 2. And, you know, he wasn't winning or anything, but he wasn't being left behind.
So,
that's impressive. Trembolek, basically, his name was.
Yes.
I met him doing his first Formula Renault race, and he had, like, literally 2 days' notice. And he was all right. And in F2, he didn't get left behind. So it's possible for drivers to get to F1, but they'll have to have a huge budget to do F3 and F2 first. And so, yeah, it would take something. It would take, you know, a lot for that to happen, I think.
And so after like the esports stuff that you was doing, you moved more to like the GT cars and stuff like that. How did that kind of?
It really happened through the fact that I was doing esports. To be honest, I got the call up to do the 24-hour Le Mans and be their British commentator on the PA system. The last guy doing it had been doing it since the 80s and then stopped, but I knew their lead French commentator from kart racing, and he just gave me the call up to do that, and then I got to do a championship called GT Open, which was really cool, but it included doing single-seater races as well, which I probably enjoyed a bit more. But that's kind of how I got to F3. That was almost the start of it, really. It was just through someone who couldn't do it. Loads of other people couldn't do it. Eventually they landed at me, and the rest is history, I guess. So
you have to get lucky for that first opportunity, though, and then you use it to impress and then get more.
Yeah, there's an element of luck involved, you know, getting to you know, doing something like Formula 2. So I managed to get that break, and it led to a lot of things, really. And then the Frecker guys knew me from doing Formula Renault. I did that twice, but again, that was a thing that, you know, a few other people couldn't do it. I got called up really last minute, and after that, they called me up to do Frecker, and that helped me get F3. So, yeah, it's you've got to get a break along the way. You know, it doesn't all just come.
How is it doing Frecker? Because obviously that's the bit before you go into Formula 3, Formula 2. How is it working on that?
Yeah, no, doing Frecker is brilliant. You know, you get to go and meet the drivers, see the tracks as well. So you get an ability to see how much elevation there is and things like that. And that's probably the most fun part of it, really. And all of the drivers in Frecker are basically just there to get to F3. So you ultimately get to meet them before they do that.
Yeah, and Formula 3, Formula 2, you got the opportunity. You took over from Alex Jakes,
Yeah.
which is a massive shoes to fill. He's an unbelievable commentator.
Yeah.
How did it feel having to take over from him?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, he gave me a lot of support, you know, and actually was one of the people who was, you know, advising the people in charge to say, you know, this should be the guy who takes over. So he was really on my side, and gave me a lot of help as well, because when I got to F3 and F2, I felt my career started all over again. The things you have to learn about commentating on that level, with it going live on Sky, and then the highlights going out on F1. So yeah, there was a lot to learn, but he helped me massively, and so did Alex Brundle as well, who's been a massive help. And yeah, that was one of the first times where I'd commentate a race and really sit back and review the race with, you know, with Alex, the producers. And so it was a completely different level. But yeah, it was, I was a massive fan of Alex Jakes. He inspired me a lot. So to take over from him was a real privilege, but he helped me a lot. And even now, I'm still learning, I think. So.
How kind of nervous were you sat there before your first race? That lights out on the first race. How nerve-wracking was that?
Yeah, I was terrified. It was Porsche Supercup at Monaco in 2022. And there was a technical issue as soon as we went live, and people were running in, doing stuff. And yeah, I was so nervous. But once it was lights out, I was all right. I didn't sleep the night before completely. So I came in with zero sleep. But yeah, once it went lights out, it was all right. Doing my first F2 race was the same. That was so nerve-wracking. It was Silverstone in 2022. There was a massive crash on the first lap of the feature race. But yeah, it was, once you get into it, you start to calm down a bit. And I think those nerves have slightly worn off now. But because at first I would be absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
And now it's, I wouldn't say I'm not nervous, but it's definitely got to a level where I'm comfortable.
Yeah, and obviously, like, I guess the most nervous part is the start, because obviously, you know, with Crofty has his line, and did you kind of have to come up with a line yourself, or was it just kind of like a natural?
I've fallen into one now, which is a bit more descriptive, and I used it a couple of times, and I thought, oh, that sounds pretty good, so let's roll with that. But it wasn't on my mind that I needed to do that, if you like. It was more a case of being able to spot things that are going to happen before they do. But yeah, it wasn't, I didn't feel I had to learn that, but I've kind of fallen into one now, and I think it just happened by accident, really.
And you mentioned that you've obviously commentated alongside Alex Brundle. I love him as much as probably you do as well. Like he sounds so much like Martin. It's unbelievable.
It's pretty scary.
It's really scary. Honestly, I think we could have a Formula 1 race and have Alex commentating, and you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
No, he does sound exactly like his dad, and you can see he's such a professional in the commentary box. The professionalism he had racing has really carried over, and that's forced me to keep raising my level even more, because he's got a very high standard for himself, and so I was like, well, I'm gonna have to set the exact same high standard for ourselves, and we've become a bit of a team now. But again, someone really helpful, has helped me a lot, and he's so talented. F2 and F3, it's a privilege for them to have him, and I'm sure he's going to go on to do a lot more the rest of his career. When he does the at F1, he does the replays on the big screen, and he's fantastic at doing that as well. So to work with him is really good.
I was going to say, with something you said earlier, do you think having a background in racing helps commentators to see things before they happen, because you kind of can predict where a driver's going to move or how they're going to avoid something?
Yeah, absolutely. In my first kart race I ever did, I was kind of spotting that there's a track called PFI, and when the drivers were coming off, there's a bridge section there and leads into a hairpin, and when they were coming off the bridge, I was saying they're going to make a move now, and then they would, and you just put yourself in the seat, and that's the same in F2 and F3. You can kind of put yourself in the seat a bit more and notice what's going to happen, why it's going to happen, why the driver's gone down that route. Alex is more the expert for that, but it definitely helps a lot. Just have that racing knowledge is something I don't think you can really learn. So unless you've competed yourself, so I think it's a huge advantage.
And also knowing the drivers as well. Does that help as well?
100%. Yeah, just seeing their achievements before. When they win, it means a lot to you. So Leo Fornaroli, I'd known him for a long time, and I'd seen him not winning races for a long time. he won the rookie championship in Freca without winning a rookie race. So when we gave him the trophy, he was like, "This is my first trophy of the season," which is pretty crazy, to be honest. But I'd seen him go through that journey, and so when he won F3, I was, whether it was him or Gabriele Mini, I would have been over the moon for them. But to see him do that move at the last lap, last corner, if people haven't seen it, go and watch it. It's something I've never seen him do something like that before.
He just chucked it out of the inside, didn't he? So, unbelievable.
Yeah, and he had an old team member of his pass away the week before, and he posted a video of them two at that corner. So I think that kind of made it extra special, really. And I had it in my head. I'm pretty sure he's going to dedicate this to him. And I said it, and he ultimately did. So I think that made it extra special for him.
So I guess knowing him as well, did you knew he was going to make that move at that final corner,
Absolutely
or was it still out of nowhere for you?
Absolutely not. And I think that you could probably hear that if you watch it back. I was so surprised. Me and Alex were like out the chairs, like wow. I didn't see that coming at all. But he's been so desperate to get that first win. Seeing him then win in F2 at Silverstone was a really special moment as well.
Yeah, I think though with what you said there, like you didn't even see it coming. I love that when commentators don't see something coming. The surprise in the voice, it's such an authentic reaction.
Yeah.
I always find that it's in some ways just amazing, even more so than when you can predict it.
Yeah, it's like someone scoring a massive goal from outside the area or something. Like Vincent Kompany when he scored that absolute banger.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like that. You don't see it coming, but then you have the backstory for them as well, which is really cool. So it's been really nice.
And in terms of like preparation for races, how do you go about doing that?
There's a lot that goes into it. When I did F2 and F3 for the first time, full seasons, I spent like 6 weeks literally preparing a spreadsheet of all the data I could get, and I've just been adding to that throughout now. So we know when they cross the line, what have they achieved exactly. It's not just a race win. They're the first Italian to win in X years, or the first Italian ever, or the first person from that team. You need to have this stuff available to you on the last lap so you can make that moment even special for them. And, not just, if you watch the highlights, we don't just have them coming across the line. It's across the line, them getting out the car, them on the podium. So you need kind of 3 things to say, really.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it.
Do you sometimes find it hard though when you have a lot of notes? Because I've done commentary on football at a low level.
Yeah.
And I sometimes find if you have so much to say, it's like, well, what do I say? Which bit?
Yeah, absolutely. You need to let the race do the talking in that sense. I've had so many instances where I've been looking at notes and then something happens and you miss it completely. So, you need to get something with you. This spreadsheet works well for me. It's kind of got everything in one place. Some people just use one sheet of paper and just put everything in. So you've got to have all the back notes to go and get that. But when you're in a race, I color code my grid sheets, and that's what I use basically. I just write one thing next to each driver, a few things for the race, and use some highlighters so they stand out a bit more. And that's been my kind of go-to now.
I guess it also is a little bit difficult when a lot of things. I think one year where Red Bull had so many Red Bull livery drivers on, that must be so difficult to kind of tell. Yeah,
it's hard. This year it's Alpine. We have like 3 in F2, and we've already made a mistake with those.
Yeah,
there'll be plenty more. But yeah, it's just trying to see the very small differences. I make a spotter's guide. I print out each car and put them to a page, and you just have to try and notice that there's very small differences. Drivers' helmets, the numbers, if you can see that. But you're sometimes, if you don't know, then don't say, if you like. That's kind of the rule. Just say a Red Bull car is spun until you know exactly who it is.
See, because I think that's hard. Like, even when I've been to a race, me and my dad have always, we look at the cars and we're like, right, which one of the Ferraris is that? Which McLaren is that? And you look, I mean, even the TV camera pod on the F1 cars, they have different colours for first and second drivers. And that's one of the only ways I could find that I could tell when you watch them in real speed, because it's so fast.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to remember as well, if you can't tell, probably 90% of people probably can't either. So just wait. It's very easy to be drawn into trying to say who it is, and you might get it right, but you might get it wrong. So just until you fully know, just wait and see. But yeah, 6 Red Bulls was definitely that was definitely tough. And I think we had 3 all spin on the same race once at Baku, so that was really hard. All in the same place as well. It was like, wow, okay.
Do you have any great commentary stories, like ones that you kind of think about the most?
That's a good question. I mean, I've had some great memories doing it so far. My first 24 Hour Le Mans was probably a really special moment because I was at the track doing that. I think what topped that was in 2024, I bought a ticket for my dad to come. And that was the first time he heard me on a PA system in about 6 years. So for him to message me a video of him listening to me, in a packed crowd, that was probably one of the most special moments I've had so far, actually. So yeah, I think that probably tops it. And at the end of Le Mans, we get to walk out on the podium and doing that for the first time and like spraying champagne on people, something I never thought I'd be doing. But that's definitely up there as well.
Does it kind of, because obviously when you're commentating on TV and you're in a studio, you can't see how many people are watching. When you're at Le Mans and you know how big the crowd is and you know they can all hear you, is that kind of, does it put it into perspective how many people are listening to your voice?
100%. Yeah, I get people, any friends there message me telling me to say different words because they're like, yeah, we'll hear it, but no one will know why you've just said that. But when you then leave the commentary box, walk back through in the evening to get back to your hotel, and there's just, you're just going through, it's like being at a festival, you're going through a sea of people. That is really cool. And I had some people film me doing some parts of the race, and watching it back, I was like, yeah, it's pretty crazy.